Welcome to the show Out of the Box. I'm your host, Raven, and here today we are talking about cycling safe on the streets here in Mountain View, California. And to talk about that today is an amazing organization called Safe Mountain View. And I have two special guests with me here today, Pat Moore.
Hi.
And Cherie Valkoviak. Did I get that correct?
You did, yes.
And I take it you guys bicycled in today?
We did.
Of course.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. Pat, tell us, what exactly is Safe Mountain View and how did it get started?
Thanks for inviting us here. And the thing for us is that Safe Mountain View isn't just about bicycling, although we are primarily bicyclists. It's about the fact that we started primarily as a group of parents, although we've expanded beyond that, because we wanted our kids to be able to be safe getting around the city. And a lot of what is built in the city tends to be built for adults, not for children.
That's such a great point, too. I'm so glad that you brought that out, that it's for both pedestrians and bicyclists and a wider range of people.
Right. And this is what what got the group started was back in 2012, there was a number of deaths. Most people are aware of Bill Ward dying, and he was a pedestrian. He died actually at a bus stop. Another person by Josh Baker, he died crossing California at Pettis. And another lady in 2013 died walking on the sidewalk along Central. So when we look at the deaths and stuff like that, that was kind of the motivation. I felt like I wanted to let my children be able to get to their friend's house without being fearful of them dying. And so that's when I met Cherie and the other members that helped start Safe Mountain View.
Yeah, obviously it's such a huge problem, and I'm so glad that you guys exist out there to address this concern. Cherie, in particular, with all the projects, I read some amazing projects that you guys are involved in and what you're doing to help keep us safe on the streets and cycling, and everyone safe for that matter. But what projects are really exciting you right now?
So we have an overarching project called 35 Miles of Protected Bike Lanes. And we came to this, it's more of almost a goal that other projects stem from. And we came to it through some outreach. We did a demonstration protected bike lane a couple summers ago, and we got feedback from the community and asked them where they would like to see protected bike lanes, which I'll explain to you a little bit in a little bit. And the feedback that we got from people is that they would really like some protection on busy roads and fast roads. And so we counted up all of the roads in Mountain View that are really busy and fast, and also schools where there's lots of kids. And there's about 35 miles of roads that are 30 miles and above that we feel are busy, fast, or have schools.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about this protection? Because I'm not sure exactly what you mean by protection.
Sure. Did you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
I think this would be a good time for the first graphic.
You guys have some great
talk
graphics.
about the 35-mile thing. The thing is that when we think about kids, they're not going to go in a narrow straight line, and they're not going to pay attention to stripes on the road. So when we talk about protected lanes, we're talking protected bike infrastructure. We're talking about making it so that everybody stays where they should be, and we don't have to worry about someone crossing a painted line. And do we have the image for that?
Yeah, let's bring up the image. And this is the protected bike lanes, or are we going to show the 35 miles first?
This is a 35-mile map.
Okay.
And everything in green is what we're talking about, what Cherie was talking about, to give you an idea that it really crisscrosses the city and helps commuters and children and people who are just casuals, and also people who are walking too. It'll help slow down the traffic for that. Did you want to add anything more to
Is this all Mountain View?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it does connect to like Sunnyvale and Los Altos too. But if you could bring up the graphic, did you want to add anything more
For
to
the
that?
next one?
Or do you want to go straight to the protected bike lanes?
I'd love to explain the protected bike lanes.
Yeah, let's go to the next image, please. Right, so this is what we mean by protection. As you can see, this bicyclist is not going to have to worry about a driver texting or not paying attention and crossing a painted line. They're really, truly protected. and that's important for kid safety.
Can pedestrians also walk in that same
So
lane?
the great thing about protected bike lanes is they're completely separate from cars, but also from pedestrians. So there's the
Wow.
sidewalk to the right, and then the protected bike lane, and then there's always some sort of a separation. In this case, there's some landscaping, but you could also have planter boxes or a curb or even parked cars, or you could have the bike lane elevated, so it's kind of at the same or just between the sidewalk and the road.
That's amazing. Like, when did they start doing these designated bike lanes like this?
Go ahead.
Okay, so in the United States, I think the first one was built in the 70s. Don't quote me.
Really? They've been around that long?
I know, but they're not widespread. They just have regained some recognition in the, I don't know, I feel like I just learned about them a few years ago.
Wow.
And they're starting to spread like wildfire in the United States. But there are other countries that are, that's like they have a whole system throughout their country. In the Netherlands, for example, and in Sweden, they're just everywhere.
And your organization is also working to do protected Davis, like they have at Davis.
Protected intersection.
Protected intersection, yes. And we have a graphic for that as well, right?
Yeah.
Let's see that graphic for the protected intersection. What's going on here?
Well, this is actually a trip that Cherie organized to take our members of city staff, including the vice mayor and a few others, to a protected intersection in Davis, and to really help the city staff understand what was possible. And I think it'd be really better if Cherie was to talk more about this, since you were there.
Sure, you guys make a good team. I like this.
But it was a wonderful day, and
It was a great day. So we went up there just so that we could feel it for ourselves. This is the first one in the United States that was in operation. There are a few other ones now. There's one in Austin and Salt Lake and Chicago. But this was the closest and the first, so we went up to see it last month, or in March. And the things we love about it are that, as you can see, just like in the protected bike lane, in the protected intersection, the bicyclists and the pedestrians are separate. They have their own sort of crosswalk here. And it's far away from the road, so that when you're cycling through this green striped, or the green, lane, you don't have to worry about a car sideswiping you and encroaching.
Great.
Right.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing there's more of these nearby, so it's not just this one where you kind of you just get to circle one intersection.
Oh,
Is that correct?
Well, they are planning another one, but this is the very first one.
Okay.
And it's all alone. So I think there's another one planned down the street. This was on Covell and J streets.
Yeah.
There's another one planned on Covell and maybe H, I'm not sure.
right. But this is actually, the interesting thing is that Chicago is doing some of these. Chicago has done a lot in the last 3 or 4 years, including protected intersections in the middle of the city, in the middle of busy Chicago. So this is not some wacky idea. This is very doable, even in the United States.
Even in Mountain View.
And I think the other thing too, if we can show the last image,
Yeah, let's go to the last
diagram too.
graphic.
Yeah.
It's an intersection one, correct?
Yeah, it's the intersection one that's showing the
different
schematic.
features.
Yeah.
What's coming up is, what I think is really interesting about this is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the segment, is that we're not just about bicyclists. We're about the safety for our children, and our kids don't always bike. They walk too. And what I think is really interesting about this is that it allows drivers to see pedestrians before they turn into them. And the way these intersections are laid out, for those looking at it, it brings the bicyclists and the pedestrians around, so they're very visible. They're right in front of the drivers, and they're not hidden to the side. There's no blind spot question. And this is really the standard that the rest of the world is going to, and we're actually a little behind the rest of the world, which is
What
a
do we
shame.
have now? Like, what's the difference between what we have now and the diagram
Well,
that we
what
just
we
saw?
have right now is, a lot of times we have a bike lane that gets close to the intersection, and then they give up on doing anything to help a bicyclist or a pedestrian. They just kind of like make bicyclists just kind of merge with vehicles. which as a parent I find utterly terrifying. And even as an adult, it's a lot stressful. And what a protected intersection is all about is reducing the stress and reducing the possibility or eliminating the possibility that anyone's inattentiveness would result in an injury or death. And to me, as a parent, that is by far and away the most important thing. Is I don't want to be stressed about my kids asking to go to the library.
Right. And I think it's even stressful for the driver, because I try to be considerate for bicyclists, but still at an intersection, I remember times where it's like, what are they doing? What am I doing? What should I do? Whereas I love that you pointed out it's about eliminating the stress. It's like bicyclists have their lane, and as a driver, I will know what they're doing.
It takes out the guesswork.
So that is really extraordinary. And this is all possible in Mountain View?
Oh.
As a matter of fact, the City Council actually approved 2 to be built on Shoreline Boulevard, one just down the street on Middlefield. And
That's
then another
amazing.
one. I know.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have to celebrate that.
Definitely.
Go on a bicycle road trip or something.
Absolutely.
Right. But even before those get built, this summer they're going to be putting a protected bike lane in front of Graham School on Castro, that section of Castro between Miramonte and El Camino. So we're getting a small taste of what this means. And that was built in part primarily because there were 3 kids who were struck but not seriously injured, fortunately, on their way to school. And this is, so like I go back to the point, it's not about bicyclists, it's about pedestrians, and we're all pedestrians at some point in our life, getting out of the car or become a pedestrian.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so glad that you're inclusive like that, because I thought too, just when researching the website, that this is about bicycling. So I'm so glad that you brought that to the table.
Thank you.
What is Cycletopia? What is this?
So Cycletopia is something I mentioned at the very beginning of our talk. It's a demonstration protected bike lane where we have a bunch of planter boxes that we pop up and plop some plants in, and we have 15 of them that we string down a street, and so you can really feel what it's like to be in a protected bike lane.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's the significance of feeling what it's like to be in a protected bike lane?
Well, it's an educational tool that we like to use. Like I said, I had only learned about these about 3 years ago, and I feel like if I'm an avid cyclist and I just learned about them, surely most of the population doesn't know about them. So I want them to know about them. I want them to see them. I want them to feel them. So I want to bring it to them.
I can't wait to ride down that.
Great.
Cycletopia. I just like the name as well. Quickly, what is your favorite trail or bicycle ride in Mountain View? Does it have a name, or I'm just curious.
My favorite route is going along Miramonte all the way across through Los Altos, and it goes, you follow it and you zigzag and you can go all the way up to Deer Hollow Farms.
Okay.
And the wonderful thing about that is once you get to Deer Hollow Farms, you can turn around and you can literally coast all the way back down to Mountain View.
How about you, Cherie?
My favorite is definitely the Stevens Creek Trail. It's just beautiful, and it goes all the way to the bay in one direction, all the way to Sunnyvale in the other direction, and it's shady and covered most of the time, and it's just beautiful.
Oh, that is so amazing. Well, I recently moved to Mountain View, and so I'm really looking forward to enjoying this safe cycling on the streets now, thanks to you guys. And I just really want to thank you so much for being here today and for the work that you're doing. Because like you said, it's just something that we're all going to benefit from. Pedestrians, bicyclists, drivers, and something that everybody can care about. So thank you so much. And we are out of time, and we are going to go ahead and wrap it up, but we so want to thank you for being here with us on Out of the Box. And I am Raven, your host, and thank you to Safe Mountain View for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
See you next time.
Yeah.